welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Miss Rena, and for today's video discussion, we're going to talk about operations in scientific notation, and this time we will focus on multiplication and division. So let's start with the learning objectives. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to understand the rules in performing multiplication and division in scientific notation and perform the operations multiplication and division in scientific notation. So let's start. For multiplication, you have to recall that a number is in scientific notation if it is in the form a times 10 raised to n. And it is in scientific notation, standard form of scientific notation, if a is between 1 and 10. It can be equal to 1, but it cannot be equal to 10. And also, I want you to recall loss of exponents, especially multiplication with powers. So if you have x raised to the power of m multiplied by x raised to the power of n, all we have to do is to copy the base x and then perform addition with the exponents. So this is the rule that we are going to apply in multiplication of scientific notation. In performing multiplication, you have to multiply the coefficients and add the exponents n. So say for example, your first number is a sub 1 times 10 raised to the power of n sub 1. And your second number is a sub 2 times 10 raised to the power of n sub 2. So all you have to do is to multiply the two coefficients. So what are the coefficients? Those are a sub 1 and a sub 2. And then perform addition with our powers. We have n sub 1 and n sub 2. So to make it clearer, let's write it this way. Oops. We have a sub 1 multiplied by a sub 2. And then, we are going to retain the operation times because we need it for our standard form. And then, our base will be 10. So, we are going to retain the value 10 as our base. Now, for the new exponent, it is going to be the sum of n sub 1 and n sub 2. So, n sub 1 plus n sub 2. Okay? Now, for division. Again, we're going to use quotients with powers or exponents. So, if we have x raised to the power of m over x raised to the power of n, that is simply x raised to the power of m minus n. Now, for division, in performing division, divide the coefficients a and perform subtraction in the exponents n. Let's look at this example. If you have a sub 1 times 10 raised to the power of n sub 1, and then you are asked to divide it by a sub 2 times 10 raised to the power of n sub 2, then your quotient will be, so a sub 1 over a sub 2 times 10 raised to the power of n sub 1 minus n sub 2. And in performing multiplication and division, if you ended up with a number that doesn't satisfy the value of a, which should be between 1 and 10, then all you have to do is to move your decimal point to satisfy this condition. Okay? So let's look at this example. If you have 9.9 times 10 raised to the power of negative 4 and 4.1 times 10 raised to the power of negative 4, then you were asked to find its product. So, kunin daw natin yung product nila, multiply tayo. So, just get your calculator and then multiply the coefficients A. What are the coefficients A? We have 9.9 and 4.1. So, please get your calculator and solve for its value. Okay, by now, I assume that you are done. You should end up with 40.59. Now, let's add the exponents n. What are the exponents n? We have negative 4 and negative 4. So, please add negative 4 plus negative 4. Okay, if you ended up with negative 8, then you are correct. Now, let's write it in the form a times 10 raised to the power of n. If you ended up with this number, 40.59 times 10 raised to the power of 8, then nakakasunod pa kayo. Now, is this in standard scientific notation? Hindi pa. We have to make our coefficient 40.59 be a number between 1 and 10. So, ang kailangan natin gawin, move the decimal point to get the standard form. So, we're going to move this 1 unit to the left. And if you still recall, pag nag-move tayo ng decimal place to the left, then we add 1. So, you're going to end up with 4.059 times 10 raised to the power of negative 7. Again, if your movement is to the left, for every 1 unit movement to the left, you have to add 1 to the exponent. And then, pag sa right naman, for every 1 decimal point movement to the right, add kayo ng isa, subtract kayo ng isa sa exponent. Okay? So, let's try this one. 4.1 times 10 raised to 4 times 1.9 times 10 raised to 6. So, this is going to be your activity for the recitation. So, this is worth 5 points. Now, let's go to the next one. Division naman tayo. We have this number 1.02 times 10 raised to 5 and 2.55 times 10 raised to 9. So let's divide the coefficients A. So that is 1.2 divided by 2.55. If your answer is 0.4, then you are correct. Now, let's proceed with the next step. Oops, may mali ako dito. This should be subtract. Sorry. So, subtract the exponents n. What are the exponents? 5 and 9. Following our laws of exponents, dapat ang isusubtract natin from 5 ay yung value na nasa denominator or exponent na nasa denominator. It is always the exponent in the numerator minus the exponent in the denominator. You will end up with 5 minus 9, which is equal to negative 4. Now, let's do the next step. Let's write it in the form a times 10 raised to the power of n. So, it should be 0.4 times 10 raised to the power of negative 4. Since our value here, 0.4, violates our condition that a should be greater than or equal to 1 but less than 10, then we have to move our decimal point 1 unit to the right. So, if you move your decimal point 1 unit to the right, ano naman yung gagawin natin? So, you are going to end up with 4 times 10 raised to the power of negative 4 minus 1. Kasi for every 1 decimal point movement to the right, you're going to subtract 1. So, our new value will be, ayun, namali pala ako ng sulat. So, 4 times 10 raised to the power of negative 5. Okay? So, I hope that was clear. For your quiz, please solve this problem. 1.099 times 10 raised to the power of 2 over 9.85. So, this will correspond as your quiz for today. And again, this is worth 5 points lang. Thank you and have a nice day. Bye!